to bring to a close the first year of the 157th session of the Georgia legislature. Hi, Regina. What did you just say?
Juliana's coming in. I just let her in.
Okay, I just had a little bit of a problem getting on.
Okay, fantastic. And so it has been a wild ride this session. Juliana, would you not say?
Oh, goodness.
It's like being on a roller coaster. You go to the very top, then the bottom drops out. You go down to the bottom, you go up, down, they twirl you around. But we have been victorious on some of the most consequential pieces of legislation, a piece of legislation that is going to affect every single advanced practice nurse in this state. And we're incredibly proud. I first and foremost want to say thank you to the Government Relations Council of UAPRN that is co-chaired by Miss Regina Canty, who you see here, and Robin. Robin, where are you? Robin Pingerton.
Y'all, I'm at Target looking for false eyelashes for Shelly Ann's event. Okay.
Oh,
She's like, confession. I'm just gonna go ahead and confess.
make sure you get some good glue to tack them down on the side, because I don't want your falsies dropping into the chicken or the salmon or whatever we're eating. So
Give me 15 minutes and then I'll be back in the car. But this is
okay,
important.
listen, we have our priorities. We have our priorities. So what we're gonna do while you're shopping for your eyelashes is we're just gonna gush over you, okay? So Regina Canty and Robin Pingerton, the co-chairs of the Government Relations Council for UAPRN, has done yeoman's work. I want to tell you guys that these two women have accomplished more in their leadership positions than we have in years. And things have moved very quickly at light speed. And I want to say how incredibly grateful that we are to have them leading our legislative efforts. I'm just, a little person behind the scenes trying to make the whole thing tick. But these are the people who are out front. And then now I want to turn it over to our absolutely incredible, awesomely capable lobbyist, Miss Juliana McConnell, who doesn't give up, who doesn't give in, who works like crazy, who puts me to sit on a chair and fall asleep if that's what it takes while she does her work. We were at the Capitol until nearly 1 o'clock this morning, and I saw this woman locked in, focused, laser precision, and doing this work. I don't know how her phone didn't go up in smoke with all her various laptops that she has set up around her, calling everyone from hither, thither, and yon. Juliana McConnell, the floor is yours to tell us all that has been accomplished during this session. Take it away.
Okay, I think Michelle described it right when she said it was like a roller coaster this session. But that's what politics is. And I've always said it's like in a car race, even when you get right there and you're about to cross the finish line, until you see that checker flag go down, anything can happen. The wheels fall off, you have a flat tire. And unfortunately, we did have, just a couple of those that we were, and remember, this is a 2-year session. So we don't say that we lost our bill. We did not get the bill to a couple of our efforts across the finish line. But as you know, as the beginning of next session, wherever that bill ended, it takes right up again when we begin in the 2024 session. Yes, we would like to have gotten them all across the finish line, but and I know that Michelle and Robin and Regina and of course Dr. Lisa Eichenberg was there with us. Even from Mississippi, she drove all the way down and spent spent some time with us there at the session. That was the second time she came from Mississippi to sit on, and we sit up on the 4th floor. We camp out. We're the only ones that do like that in the entire Capitol. We bring in our little tables and our computers and even one our lounge, a little folding chair. So, but it works. And we sit there and we're diligent all day long from early morning. We're there like at 9:30. And last night, as Michelle said, it was after 12:30. It was 2:00 when I crawled into bed this morning, and I'm sure I look like it. But let's start first with, we always want to look at, and I hate it when I hear, it's like a stab in the heart if I ever hear somebody, well, at least we got this, or, but wait just a minute. When we started this session, I was directed as your lobbyist, the #1 top priority, #1 was to get the UAPRN license, because let's face it, ladies and gentlemen, we cannot do anything. We cannot move forward to reach our goal of one day, with having full practice authority. It's imperative. You have to have an UAPRN license. So that was our top priority. And we were just, I cried. I tell you, history was made the day when we this session, when we did get it even before, usually it's the last day of the session, sometimes bumping up against midnight, and we got it a week. I don't know, now the days are run together, but we got it way before the end of the session. And it's on the governor's desk now. I did talk with the author of the bill, Senator Huffstetler, today. And I told him, ask him, because he would have to be the one to do that. I said, would you please ask the governor if we can have a special signing ceremony? Now, whether we get it or not remains to be seen. Depends on how many else. But if you don't ask, you're not going to get it. Sign it regardless, but we'd like to have a special ceremony so we can go in and have pictures made, or have it somewhere. But anyway, that's the goal. But that will be signed, by the governor. So and then we also had worked on with the Secretary of State's office and our nurse licensing board to get some budget dollars. We had asked for 2 additional analysts and a full-time education specialist for them. And the House did put all of that in, but as you know, that's the first, that's only halfway through. Then when the Senate came back, they put in their budget 1 analyst and a full-time educator and education specialist. And unfortunately, we did what we could to try to make them see that we really needed to, but when they came back and we did end up in the conference committee with a full-time, 1 additional analyst and a full-time education specialist. So it wasn't totally what we'd asked for, but we talked with the Secretary of State and with Gabe Sterling and Gordon Fooch, and they told us, they said, thank you. This is the first time and I forgot exactly the numbers, talking about how many more licenses that the Secretary of State has to issue even over the last decade, and they haven't had 1 increase for the staff, for these analysts and resources. And they said, by y'all working and advocating on our behalf, thank you so much. This is the first time we have gotten it, gotten an addition. So let's be, so that really made us feel good. And I know that Michelle and Lisa got to go down and talk to Gabe Sterling last night. I think he said the same thing, Michelle, thanking y'all and thanking all of our advocates and for our work. And the Board of Nursing has reached out to say, thank you for doing that. So that's exciting. Now we, of course, the second bill that we had worked for was the Schedule 2. And we were set and postured to easily cross the finish line with Schedule 2. I mean, it went through the House and went through the Senate committee. But there were some changes made in the Senate committee to the bill. So whenever there are changes made like that, then it must go back to the House to be approved. Well, in the meantime, we picked up a couple of other amendments on that bill. And that's the kind of thing that the author of the bill, whoever's carrying the bill, like in the Senate, when it gets to the Senate does have the ability to make amendments to our bills without really seeking our approval. So we were told there were a couple of amendments that had been added to our bill, but that they were good amendments, okay, and that it would make the bill better, okay. Well, remember again, we do not have, and this is House Bill 557. Okay, but so remember, we don't have the ability to say yes or no on that. That's left up to the legislators. Because once these bills are started, they're no longer, we call it our bill, but it's the legislators, the author or the sponsor of the bill. Okay, so it picked up a couple of amendments, and unfortunately what happened is once it got then back over to the House for agrees, lo and behold, we were totally shocked that the House disagreed to those amendments. So it threw the bill into what's called a conference committee. And so as of last night, that means there's 3 House members and 3 senators that were assigned to that conference committee. And they ended up, and I won't go into the details of what it was, and it was impacting hospitals and the ability with hospitals where they have a non-compete clause, and if that hospital goes out of business or sells, then that they cannot enforce those non-compete clauses. And it sounded reasonable to us, and it like I said, it wasn't the senator that put that on, they felt like that they had the full support of everyone, but that wasn't the case. And so it got caught in that, and we were running out of time. And unfortunately, they ran out of time, and it got to 12 o'clock before that conference committee could come to an agreement with a compromise language. Okay, so the bill did not pass last night. But the good thing is the bill sits right there. It sits in that conference committee. And then at the beginning of the next session, it will take right up. It's not like we have to start over from anywhere. All that conference committee, and I'm sure the members of it can hopefully between now and the 1st of January of the next session can work out a compromise and so that it can quickly move. So that's where we stand on that. Yes, we were extremely disappointed and shocked. I mean, I'd already told everyone it was a 99% chance of that bill because we even had the medical association. They testified and did not even testify against the bill, which was a real first for us. So we come a long way in the fact that we had this Schedule 2 bill, and we also had the disability parking permits added into that bill too. And did not have anyone testifying against it. It was, we've come a long way when we can get to that point. And it's one of those things in politics that unfortunately it's out of your control. I don't care. We could have had 50 lobbyists out there. We could have had 1,000 advocates. But those kind of procedures where amendments are added on and without you knowing it until and then all of a sudden you've got people disagreeing to it, that's totally beyond our control. So, but as I said, it's sitting there in that conference committee and be ready to move the next session. Okay, another bill that was really important to us was the bill for where they had the Guardian bill. It started in the Senate, in the House Bill 291, and that was also very important to us because it was a probate court judge's bill. They started it. And it was for whenever they need to appoint a legal guardian, they have to, right now, they have to have that individual that needs the guardian appointed for them. They must be assessed by a physician, a psychologist, or a licensed clinical social worker. And there's just not enough of them. There are not enough available. And so the probate court judges statewide were saying, we've got to have more healthcare providers that we can select from added to that list. So they added nurse practitioners and PAs, licensed professional counselors, and marriage and family therapists to that list. We were so excited, and it passed the House overwhelmingly, and then we got it through the committee in the Senate, and then it got to the rules calendar to be put onto and got on the rules calendar with the help of some of our judges. And then lo and behold, then yesterday, Monday, as we're waiting for it to be chosen, to be called up, to be voted on, we were actually number 10. They got to number 9, finished that number 9th bill, and then they're getting ready to call our bill up, and the lieutenant governor says, oh, let's wait there and break for lunch. And we're going, we could touch it, we could feel it, we could see it. And then, so then throughout the day, and then yesterday, what happened? Politics again. The Senate had they had the school voucher bill, and that was one of their priorities this year. And so they passed it overwhelmingly. I passed it out of the Senate, basically along party lines, and then it went to the House. Okay, it became a very controversial bill in the House. This is school vouchers. And I'm sure you've read about it and heard about it. Well, the problem was that in the House, it was not divided totally among party lines. There were a number of the Republicans who especially lived in rural areas who did not support the school voucher. And they didn't have the vote, so they kept holding on to that bill. They didn't bring it up for a vote. Well, since that was a priority of the Senate, they selected that as a key bill that they were going to track. And what they did is they looked at any representative who had a bill that was on the calendar in the Senate to be brought up to be voted on. They said, if that representative voted against their school voucher bill, then their bill in the Senate was laid, they would not call it up for this session. It was basically, I hate to use the word dead for this session, but it was, they said, and so we started, before we even realized that was what was happening. I mean, I even used my final Hail Marys. I mean, I even did a personal text, but I only do one time a session to the lieutenant governor and all of his key staff people and all the key leadership in the Senate. And we just weren't getting that bill called up. And then I finally was told by one of the key leaders that we're close to, and actually, Robin, it was Senator Dolezal. He sent a text out to me and said, I'm sorry, but your bill is carried. That bill is authored by he called him by name, Representative Scoggins, and he voted against the school voucher bill. The school voucher bill they finally brought it up for a vote. And the minute they voted, they took a list of all those, and most of them, all the Republicans, especially, that had voted against it. And all of their bills were laid down, and they refused to vote on their bill. So our bill, even though it was a great bill, they didn't have any problem with the bill. We had local judges calling and touching out to all the key senators and to the lieutenant governor's office. We were blasting them, and it didn't matter because the bill at that point became a political tool, and they held any bill if that author voted against against the school voucher bill. So our bill, again, it was one of those, we could have had 1,000 people there, but it was strictly politics. Our bill got caught up. So, but it's still, like I said, same way as with the other bill. The bill it will now be sent back because it wasn't pulled up and voted on. It will be back in the Children and Family Committee. So at the beginning of next session, we just have to get it back out of that committee and back on the floor to be voted on. So, and like I said, that's, hey, I've been around 30 years. That happens. I see it. You know, you just hope you don't get caught up in one of those, but unfortunately we did. Okay, the next one of the other bills, and let me tell you, I've spent this entire day. I got up, even though I got to bed at 2 o'clock, I got up at 8 o'clock this morning because there was so much, and Michelle can tell you, and there's so much going on in all these conference committees and bills being added to other bills. It's very difficult to follow what happened yesterday. And so I had to get up, and I spent my entire day going through, looking for bills, looking for what was added on, making calls to the Capitol, to the clerk's office. What happened to this bill? Did it pass? Did it get agreed to? And then texting senators. And so that I could see, especially the bills we were following, where those bills ended up and did they get agreed to or passed. Now, one bill, another one that we were really interested in was the preceptor bill, right? It was increasing the preceptor tax credit at a flat $750. And so we were really supporting that increase. But also, even more important actually than increasing it was that the preceptor tax credit section, it had a sunset on it. And if it didn't get amended, that whole program would ended by the end of this year. It sunsetted on December the 31st of this year. So they had to get it extended. So what they did is they worked with Senator Hufstetler, who was the one that carried our bill, and he was able to, at least, he didn't get the increase in there, but he got that sunset attached to one of his bills, and it did get approved. So the preceptor tax credit has been extended to 2026 now. Okay, and that took I had to spend a lot of time trying to research that to find out, and actually even talked personally with Senator Hufstetler today. And he explained, yes, I put it on there, couldn't get the increase, but I did get the sunset extended so that it stays alive, so it's still available. Now, another bill was that that we've talked about was that $100,000 for APRNs, that if you work at a university, after 1 year, this would make available where it would be a loan repayment of all of your loans up to a total of $100,000 if you agree to continue working at that university. That's a huge, and that was a governor's bill, because they realized after doing the study that we've talked about for a while, with the Workforce Development Commission, that was one of their recommendations. And so that was a governor's bill, and it did pass. They went back and forth. It went into a committee because it originally said $100,000, but it said for any at any university in the state of Georgia. Okay. But then that started in the Senate, but then when it got to the House, they made changes to it and said that it had to be a university that was within the university system of Georgia. So that would exclude your private universities. And then they also added the technical universities on it. Okay, but then when it got into conference committee, the House and the Senate started fighting over whether it should be all universities or just the universities within the university system, because that would have excluded your private universities like your Emory's and Mercer's. And I found out that, and again, talked directly with the governor's floor leader who carried that bill, because he happens to be a good friend. And he said what they ended up with was they did give in, the House gave in to the Senate and said it would be all universities, the universities within the university system, plus private, not-for-profit universities. Okay, and he said, but that means any of these universities that are for-profit universities, they would not be included in. Okay, but they did get the not-for-profit private universities expanded. So like your, I guess like your Emory and Mercer would be not-for-profits. So
For now.
for now, right. Okay, so that was, but that was a very important bill too. So,
Juliana,
yes, ma'am.
hey, good evening. I wanted to say one thing. I think you had said that this was for APRNs, but actually it's for any masters or doctors.
Yeah, thank you for correcting me. No, yeah.
It's for any masters or doctorally prepared nurse, not just
Okay.
APRNs.
Okay, as long as you are being a professor at a university, as long as you are faculty at a university. And because they're trying to expand the workforce and trying to expand the number of, I mean, because they know we have a nursing shortage, and if we don't continue to educate nurses, if you don't have the professors to educate them, then you're certainly going to be looking at a continued even more and more. So that's just some of the highlights. Now, one of the biggest, I mean, yes, the Schedule 2 was disappointing and heartbreaking that we have to wait till next year. But like I said, it's at least we're sitting there in good shape that it should go quickly the first of next year. But one of the most heartbreaking and just shocking bills that it was taken hostage. It was a fight between the House and the Senate was House Bill 520, the mental health bill, because we had so much in that mental health bill as well as so many others. And there were just thousands of hours put into that bill all year. I served on a statewide advocacy group. We met every Friday at 12:30. I can't tell you how many hours and work that so many people put into that bill. And again, even led to by Commissioner Tanner, who had worked on this effort for so many years. And it was heart-wrenching to see it get caught up. It got caught up strictly in a political battle between the Senate and the House. The Senate wanted the certificate of need bill. The House, this was one of their top priorities. And so the Senate held up the mental health bill and allowed the bill to die. And so the bill, I did not believe that our legislature would not come to an agreement before the end of the session. So I was shocked that they just let the bill die. And it's still there. I mean, like I said, I used the word die. It did not make it through this session. It's still sitting there. It's still in the Senate HHS committee. So it can be, and I assure you there'll be a lot of people working on taking it up, the beginning of next year and moving it forward. But it's just sad that we have to wait a full year before we can do that. But that again is politics. You get caught, and this is not something new. This has been going on. I've been there 30 years. I've seen it, it's happened over and over and over where we lose good legislation because of the political battle, where one chamber wants something and another chamber wants something else, and they hold out to the end, and sometimes they hold out too long and the good legislation dies, so but it's for the session. It will, at least, like I said, it will be there, and we'll be working just as hard between now and then. I'm sure this group, because they were devastated. I mean, you could have seen all of them, especially the leadership of that group. It was like a funeral at a couple of times, because we were going, I cannot believe they're going to let this bill die. And like I said, and I know Lisa was hard because she had worked so hard on especially that workforce section, and we'd worked so hard on the alternative to get what we needed in the bill, and so excited that everything we put into the bill stayed in the bill, even in the Senate version, and they chopped a lot out in that Senate version, and everything we asked for was still in there. So,
there is one part of that mental health bill that did make it. It was taken out. Dr. Kirkpatrick moved it to Senate Bill 23, and it passed, and that's the data sharing agreement between agencies. And we haven't seen that bill, the revised portion of that, to see exactly what that says, but that may really help us, because right now we're having problems sharing data between agencies, between the Board of Nursing and the Georgia Board of Healthcare Workforce. So that may help. So we're anxiously awaiting the final copy of that bill to see how it was amended. So that might be a shining star. Anyway, so we're hoping.
I mean, it was important. Yes, that one part is important to us, but you think it was like 3 pages of a 50-page bill. And, that's, but at least, like you said, at least they got that little part out and pulled it out, and Dr. Kirkpatrick and was able to get that into another bill.
Another bill.
But
So.
But overall, like I said, we've got to be, we're very disappointed about, some of the things that we weren't able to get across the finish line and that, but overall, and Michelle kept reminding me last night when we were driving home at 1 o'clock in the morning, she said, hey, we got to focus on, we made history with our licensure bill, and with this huge opportunity to attract more professors to our universities, and getting some dollars in the budget for the Secretary of State for the Board of Nursing. So we've got to remember what I guess we had so much going on, we were just like, oh, wow. So you got to step back and not be too greedy and say, hey, we've got to be thankful for the successes that we had, more so than in many, many years. So, but like I said, and it was and I tell you, I want to share this too. We had Dr. Marion was not able to be there with us, and so we actually at one point I was able to FaceTime with her, because I wanted to thank her while I was there at the Capitol. I said, she was one of our trailblazers. And I said, I'm standing on your shoulders tonight. And the success that we are able to see this year, it was your shoulders that helped, and the trailblazing and the pushing, and that all that she did for so many years that helped get us to that point. And all of the work that, but guys, I know all of you had such a role to play with the calls and texts and our new leadership. And but I want y'all to please those that aren't, and I know many of you aren't able to physically be there. That's the reason you have us, so we can be there. But boy, I mean, y'all need to really thank your leadership team that physically came down there, because it's a sacrifice. I mean, for them to come down there and just sitting there, and sometimes it can get kind of, because I tell some of my family, sometimes you're probably better off to really not be aware. Ignorance sometimes is bliss, to not really know sometimes those parts of it that can get a little stressful. But it was but overall it was a good night. We and I appreciate your leadership team too, coming down there physically. So y'all please reach out and thank them for taking their time, because they're taking their times away and coming down there and sitting there, and did get some good food every once in a while though, didn't we? Last night we ate plenty of chicken all day. But thank you so much. And
Pork chops and peaches.
pork chops and peaches last night.
Oh, I see we have Dr. Desiree Clement on with us this evening. And
Ooh,
most certainly we want to thank her for, she may not have been able to be there personally, but she surely sent her well wishes and was very helpful in helping us to analyze and to write documents. Hi, Des, how are you? Welcome.
And that is, Michelle, that is so important because sometimes when I'm there, or I mean, I have even been in committee meetings where I've had to send out to a group of you and say, how many PAs are there in the state right now? Or, or how many of this, or get me this fact quick, I need it now, or can you put together, I need a one pager, here's what I need. And because I can't, and I've got to get it. And it's like, I need it yesterday,
What about the calls that sound like leave work, come now? What about those calls?
Yeah, I gotta have you here. When?
Leave work and come now.
Right now. I've got to have somebody testify, so, but that's the way it works there. People go, well, you got to give me some advance notice. And I was like, when I get there at 10 o'clock and I've got it posted that we've got a 1 o'clock committee meeting, that's advance notice. So, but anyway, and I am working on, I'm going to be sending out to all of you, and I've made it more, simplified it now with just the bills that passed and just a brief description of them. Other bills that kind of impact us that, that you need to at least be aware of. And that I think it would be interesting for you to know, the healthcare type related bills. And I've been working on all that all day long. So hopefully in the next day or two, once I can finalize, there are a few of them that still are not, I could not find the information, and I wanted to finalize that to make sure all of those passed or not. And then I'll send that out to you, okay? As well as the few bills that didn't make it across, but to know that those are there. We'll be getting ready to work on those for next year.
I just want to jump in and again, thank Dr. Eichelberger, Dr. Lisa Eichelberger, sincerely for coming all the way from Mississippi to make sure that she was on hand to see history be made, for even if there was distance involved, but still being available and for helping us to fight the good fight. Dr. Eichelberger, would you agree that this has probably been the most successful session that you have ever experienced, that we know of, dare I say, in the history of the legislature when it concerns specifically APRN matters? What would you say?
Absolutely. In the 15 years that I've been involved in policy in Georgia, there's no question. I mean, we had one new bill passed in 14 years. And now for us to have gotten the licensure bill passed, as well as the 100,000 loan forgiveness. And then we've gotten two that are in committee, in a conference committee, with, the possibility of them getting out pretty soon. So we've never had this kind of success. And of course, we also had the Protection Act passed into law. We haven't really talked about that tonight, but the assault against health professionals, that act passed. And I might have talked about that before I got on. I had difficulty logging on. This session was very different with the attitudes toward nursing. I think,
Lisa, at one point, did we not say this is a trick?
Yeah.
Something is up here. We're
waiting
waiting for the other shoe to drop.
Yeah.
This is
the wool over our eyes,
we've never had so much support. We couldn't even understand
No,
what was happening.
And
no,
remember, we had a position present our bill on the floor.
yeah. Dr. New,
Yeah.
yeah.
That's the first.
So, yeah, it was really quite strange. Felt like I had, it was
Gone
like
down your
Alice in
rabbit hole
Wonderland.
again.
Yeah, Alice in Wonderland. Yeah. It's a nice kind of feeling, but surreal. Yeah. So I think, we can't be, we want to be greedy, but we can't diminish our accomplishments this time. Because to get the licensure was the most important thing for us this session. And we can't forget to celebrate that widely and wildly, because that was a significant achievement and something we absolutely needed. And so I want to thank everybody for all their hard work. And hats off to Juliana. Oh my gosh, the strategy and this that she, in the contacts that she has, just, never seen anything like it. So to get to watch her and the strategic thinking that she utilizes is really to our advantage in so many ways. So
Dr.
I
Eichelberger,
appreciate-
something that I also want to be very clear about is the legislation that was addressed this session was not specific to only APRNs. The depth and breadth of what we addressed this session really demonstrated that UAPRN is not just singing off of one sheet of music. The bills that were addressed target is not the right word, but what was done was to address and to benefit all of nursing. So, Juliana, there were two pieces of legislation that were meant to benefit the Board of Nursing, and that is nursing on a whole. Then, of course, to benefit nursing faculty. Nursing faculty, for the most part, on a whole. Then another bill to benefit individuals who need to have a guardian or conservator assigned. Okay? That's not something specific to APRNs. That's for the individuals of Georgia to make sure that APRNs are able to serve them. And then, it really should. Yes, Juliana.
On that one, and because I want to tell you that with that bill, and like I said, even though we didn't get it across the finish line, we've got it sitting there and we've got it ready to start up next year. But at one point, when that author had that bill, he was ready when he took it to the Senate. He had a number of other healthcare providers included in that. And the Senate was about to kill the bill. And they told him, they said, we can't approve it like it is. And I happened to be, and we were watching and being a part of that. And they said, go back and work on the bill. Okay, so I went to him personally and I told him, I said, and he said, well, I'm just going to take everybody out except PAs and master's level social workers. And I went, oh, no. I said, look, let me, if you will allow me, if you'll give me that bill and authorize me to work with legislative counsel, I said, I commit to you that I will put together. I said, because you're not gaining if you only have a few PAs and only a handful of, and plus the master's level social workers, they really were not everyone that I had told was not qualified because they had to work under supervision, and I said, you're not even expanding the list, but very, very little. And I said, if you'll let me take it, and let me work with legislative council and bring in some of our other advocates, I commit to you, we will put together a bill for you to take back to that committee, and we will help you convince them that you have put together the best qualified list, as well as a list that will make accessible healthcare, make a number accessible all over the state of Georgia. If you'll let us, and he looked at me, he said, okay, you got it. And he handed me the bill. And that's what we did. Then we went, worked with legislative council, put it together. And when he came back to that committee and Robin was there, and you saw it was once that he was able to present the committee. Now, we had already talked to a lot of the committee members to let them know what we had done and to convince them that this was the best bill for the, and would expand it with good qualified healthcare providers, those that would meet the need. And it passed, so but if we had not jumped in to do that bill, not even if it had not died, it would have done nothing, for what it was trying to do. So, but that's because we were proactive in going, but then I got a little worried because I said, oh my God, I have committed myself. I told him, we will convince them. We will. And thank goodness we did. So, but if we, example,
Juliana.
Yes.
Can I just say, speaking here as a novice here, who this is my first season where I really got into going to the Capitol, and I just want to encourage everybody on this call to please take some time. You can come down after work, but it's just amazing to see the work that our the trailblazers have done for us. And if the only question we got during that committee meeting on the guardianship bill was for a nurse practitioner, and if Juliana did not have a nurse practitioner to answer that question, it probably wouldn't have been as successful, possibly, right? So we have to have presence. If anybody is interested in advocacy or policy, we need more people to start learning the process. I have learned so much, and I have been mentored by Lisa, Michelle, Juliana, the representatives. It's been such a wonderful learning experience, and I encourage anybody who has questions, call me. But we really need more people down at the Capitol.
But
really
Robin, if she had not been there, we had her there. And then also this year was her first time doing this. And before it was over with, she was standing to help with, we have a legal counsel that helps us and that works with us with our nurses as well as our counselors. And there at a committee, she finds herself having to stand up there to be a part of the testimony in front of a major Senate committee. But I think she felt comfortable doing that and had learned. And so it was a great learning experience, a learning process, and see what all has to be involved to make sure that we impact and we pass good public policy for nurses. So I do thank you, and thank all of you, those, especially the new ones that were able to come down this year and learn the process and appreciate what it takes to really to make this happen, and how important it is for you to have if you're going to have a voice and help shape public policy, you got to be involved with it. And so thank you. Thank all of you that were able to do that, and everybody that was back home, whether it was calling or sending emails or helping to develop the talking points and helping put together the information. It takes a village, as they say, to make this happen. So
look at this beautiful picture that Miss Reagan has put in the chat of you with some students. Oh, that's the best smile, Juliana. We also have some questions that are in the chat that we want to address. Before we get to that, I want to give a shout out to Miss Shelly Ann McKenzie. Shelly Ann, who has everybody out my eyelashes, hairdos, gowns, stilettos, the HHCP Glam and Gratitude Gala is on for this Saturday, and what a fitting reward
We'll close
at
out.
the end of this to close out such a beautiful and highly successful session. And Shelley, I mean, you've been whipping us into shape, but thank you for putting it together so that we really have an opportunity to celebrate. There's so much to celebrate on Saturday. Are you ready?
As ready as I'm gonna be. Yes, ma'am.
Robin, did you get the eyelashes? I mean, can we see you? I mean, what's going on? There she is.
I got my high heels, I got my eyelashes, I got a dress.
Well, that's good. That's good.
That's really good.
That's a start.
Right. But
Oh, but I
Robin,
know.
I want to address these comments and questions in the chat. But Gary Carter asked, do you know when the loan forgiveness application process will commence for nursing faculty? Will it be proctored by the Board of Nursing?
No, I can answer that.
Okay.
It will be handled by the Georgia Board of Healthcare Workforce. You can get up to $100,000 of your loans forgiven. And
That's some big do-re-mi, Lisa.
the big buck.
Oh my.
And you have to be a Georgia resident, and there's some other qualifications in there. And you can look up the bill, but you know, they have a process in place already. Because we've been doing this for a lot of years. But as when it will be up and running, I don't know. But that's who will be handling it. The Georgia Board of Healthcare Workforce, and you can Google them and pulls it right up.
And
Georgia.
remember, you have to have work
1 year.
For 1
year
1 year.
for then it goes in, and that 100,000 is spread over 5 years.
5 years.
Mhm.
All right, next question. Des is say yes, many wins for nursing. Des, who I miss on a night like this? Our wonderful Molly, who
Molly.
we shall never forget. For those of you who do not know who we're talking about, Dr. Molly Bachtel, she was the original engine in this thing. Talk about sit up late nights and work tirelessly until she moved to, where did she go to? Uzbekistan, Kazakhstan? Uzbekistan. She was our warrior that would be down at the Capitol fighting on the lines, making infographics, making the phone calls. She was tireless when it came to this fight. And she really, really demonstrated to us what commitment and digging in, what that looked like. There were nights I sat at Emory University with Molly to 2, 3 a.m. in the morning, 4. This young lady had, 7 kids and did this work.
Like that.
I just had to, there were many nights I had to say, no, I'm throwing in the towel. I got to leave you. So we miss her and we're so grateful. Next question from Ms. Abrams. Also, does the loan forgiveness bill state a length of employment? We have answered that, right? You had to be employed for 1 year before you were eligible for the loan forgiveness. Correct, Lisa?
Mhm.
All right. Okay, yes, Reagan, thank you so much for that picture. We have a
Is it
conference coming
full-time
up.
only? Yes. Is it for full? Yes, you must be full-time faculty. I read that.
So, Dr. Shaw Grant, the mighty, mighty Dr. Pamela Shaw Grant from Columbus. We're so happy to have you tonight, any night, every night, some nights, whatever night. We're just happy you're here. Dr. Pamela Shaw, and that's another lady, go-getter who's doing it big in Columbus and has really shown us how to not only work state politics, but how to work local politics too. And it's just as effective, if not more so. She has a question. Is early bird still available for the Jekyll Island Conference? Columbus plans to attend. Everybody better plan to attend. I do believe that early bird is available. There was super early bird. I think I saw super duper early bird. I thought I saw super early bird.
Michelle,
And now we're at early bird.
Michelle,
Yes.
Rita and I are confirming that. I believe I was told by Vivian that early bird is over. It was over March first, but I did not see a lot of advertisement about that. So we're going to have a conversation about that soon.
Okay. Well, let's see if we can roll the hands of time back to super early bird or something like that. But we'll work on it. So stay tuned and stay engaged. Regina, you're on. You want us to mention something? You go ahead and mention it, Madam Chair.
I know we've finished with this session, but the work is still continue on. Plan of war in time of peace. So we are continuing with this legislative.
Wait a minute. Give us that again.
Plan for
now.
war in time of
Dropping
peace.
some gems tonight, honey.
Yes.
Plan for war in times of
peace.
peace.
We just got through with the legislative session, but we are not finished. We're going to have a legislative workshop on April 15th, and it's a continuation of what we got going. We cannot stop. So we'll be talking about all of that stuff, new initiatives, what we're going to be continue doing for the state of Georgia. So we still have a lot of work to do. We need some people to sign up. Last we counted 25 to sign up. We need almost 100 people. We've made preparations for that. And we're going to also have, for those who cannot stand in person, the ones who are far away, the ones who are local we want to see, we are going to have it streamlined. We're going to have that. So we're looking forward to that. We've got the sponsorship. We got the people to have these conversations. We just need the support. So every nurse practitioner that you know, we want you to invite them to be there.
It can be RNs, it can be students.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Okay.
We are not prejudiced at all.
Absolutely. So the other thing, I'm going to extend what Regina said, that, you know, I want you to think of this as the next legislative session begins now, because we have shared with you, we have beseeched you, we have implored you to please use this time when the session is not in to engage with your legislators. When they go back home, this is when you get an opportunity to engage with them, when they're back home in the home district. And I do hear feedback when I go down to the, you know, under the gold dome. Members don't reach out to me. No one has ever reached out to me. What am I supposed to stand there and say? Every legislator should be covered in the state of Georgia. Get to know who they are. This is when we start to educate them so that when it's time and Juliana gets activated and she's back in the zone for next session, these people already primed like a pump. They are primed and they are prepped. They don't have to try to figure out what these bills are. You have done your due diligence and they know what is going on. So please get busy. Please introduce yourself. Please show up. When these individuals have events, show up to the event. Show up to the event and please let them know that you are there to educate them and to support if that is so. I think that answers all the questions in the chat. Dr. Eichelberger, is there anything else that we show?
I just wanted to say, you're so right, Dr. Nelson. And now it would be a good time, you know, give them a few days, you know, to rest up after the end, because they've worked long hours this week. But now would be a good time to thank them for voting for our licensure bill.
Yes.
and tell them, passing the assault bill, protecting nurses and healthcare workers. Tell them how appreciative you are of their vote. And so thank them for their service. That, they always appreciate being thanked. And then that lets them know that you know how they voted. And of course, make sure they voted for it. But our bills were overwhelmingly positive. We almost had nobody to vote against them. So you want to make contact with them, as Dr. Nelson said, thank them for their service, and then offer yourself as a resource to them. Anytime that they have a question about healthcare and nursing and or hospitals or whatever part of the healthcare industry that you work in, offer your services, because they need that. And that's a good way to break the ice so that they know who you are.
Thank you so much for that, Dr. Eichelberger. One last thing, Pam, you have in here, it said March. I'm not quite sure what we're referring to. What's happening in March?
She's muted. She's muted.
Pam,
Unmute her.
can you put it in the chat? I'm not really quite sure. Are you referring to the,
Early bird.
I don't know what. Let me click on this really quick. Okay, it's not the legislative workshop. That's the right
Oh,
date.
hi there,
April
Michelle.
15th. Hi, Pam.
Hey, so I was talking about the conference, but I was able to register and early bird is still in effect. I thought it was through the month of March.
Okay, very good. Early bird is still in effect. So
And I did register.
run, do not walk
Exactly.
for early bird. Okay. And I have it on good authority that our last set of individuals that have been working on our previous conferences are probably going to be entering the building to ensure that you get a fantastic experience. So we're looking to see continuity in the experiences, the level of experience that you have come to expect from UAPRN. So thank you so very much. Juliana, Regina, Robin, any parting words before we let everyone go for the night? And you know what? I want to thank the individuals that have rocked with us every week. We need to thank you guys. You have given us your time on Thursday nights. We're just getting started though. We need you. We do this for you, and we need you to continue to let us know, are we doing the right thing? Just like on the back of a truck, how's my driving? Please don't abandon us. Let us know if we're driving this bus in the right direction, your direction to serve the citizens of Georgia. So thank you so much for being with us. Regina, please take us out.
So as you said, I want to thank everybody, and just remember, we are striving for full practice authority in the state of Georgia. So we got some more work to do, but we're gonna do it. Okay. Hopefully I'll see everybody March 15th. For those who are coming to
April
party, I'll see
15th,
you
April 15th.
April 15th. I'm sorry,
April
April 15th. April 15th.
Unless we're getting in your time machine.
No,
it's
April
April
15th.
15th.
Please come, please come. And I'll see those of you who plan on kicking up your heels on Saturday. Have a good evening.
Okay. Good night, everyone.